I believe that the work is the audition. I believe that that's what we need to be excited about. I think more actors need to stop with the I hate auditioning, or I don't look forward to auditioning. Until we change that mentality and we get excited about the audition and can't wait for it, and we're clicking refresh on our email every 5 minutes for that C mail. I mean, until we're doing that kind of shit, like it's not happening, dude, because you're putting it all on the job. You're putting it all on the stuff that you think you love, which is acting, which is over here, which is this kind of thing that is on your periphery that you can't even get to yet. Like why do that? The love in the acting in the moment is can be right there in the audition. The audition, you get to perform, you get to go have fun, you get to have this 3 minutes where you own that room and just be this guy and do this crazy shit, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful, and I can't wait to get in that room. And like, I no longer mistake my excitement for fear. I used to think I was just scared, but then I realized, whoa, dude, I'm just excited. I can't wait to get in this room and show them what I got. And we need to see more of that.
If you're a professional actor challenged by an increasingly fragmented industry, then this podcast is for you. The Hollywood Actor Podcast is an anthology made up of the stories of actors building their bodies of work by redefining themselves, reframing their goals, and reevaluating their opportunities. No matter where we are in our careers, we're always looking to be inspired and to share ourselves across our community. This podcast will offer that opportunity to guests and listeners alike as we all discover what it means to be a working, professional, successful actor. This is Jamie Young, and you're listening to the Hollywood Actor Podcast. Today's guest is Alveraz Ricardez. Alveraz is an actor based in Hollywood, having studied acting at UCLA and with coaches Jeff Seymour, George Gallagher, and Paul Schackman. His credits include ABC's Grey's Anatomy, Netflix's Grace and Frankie, and Fox's The Orville. Look out for his upcoming performances on Amazon's Bosch and CBS's Life in Pieces. And you can find details of his ongoing network TV audition class, The Primal Audition, in the show notes. Now let's hear from Hollywood actor Alveraz Ricardez.
I've been in the industry for, 15 to 20 years in one capacity or another, mostly in the writing area and directing and kind of just any way I could get my hands in the creative pot of filmmaking. I was always involved, but now I would always have that job, my real job, and then I would always kind of touch base with filmmaking any way I could. But acting, I kind of just took a circuitous route around to finally landing into acting. It was kind of my last vestige of hope in the creative world of entertainment, and fortunately it worked out. It turned out to be a wonderful blessing, and I'm thrilled with how things have gone. But yeah, kind of crazy.
Are you concentrating now on being an actor, or are you still maintaining those slashes, writer, director, producer?
No, I'm not doing the multi-hyphenate thing. I am 100% acting now, and I've been very fortunate enough that I'm booking enough and auditioning enough and working enough where I don't need to do those other things. Or let me take that back. I don't have the same calling that I had before to do those other things. And now I have a tremendous love and respect for this craft of acting. And I completely fell in love with it, and yeah, I'm not turning back. This is it. There's no plan B.
Nice. What was that big transition for you? What was that epiphany that said, I need to act? That's what I need to be doing within the film industry?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's kind of interesting because acting was always there. Like ever since I was a kid, it was part of me. I just never fully realized it or never really took the jump. I mean, when I was a kid, up until I was like 10 years old, I had watched a lot of like science fiction movies and Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica, and all these things were real big in the early 80s, late 70s when I was a little guy. And then right around 10 years old, my mom started taking me to more dramatic films. And I remember, I think it was like 83 or 84. I was like 10 or 11. And like three big films, dramas came out that year. I think it was The Big Chill, World According to Garp, and Terms of Endearment. And it was just a powerhouse of dramatic acting. And I hadn't been introduced to anything like that before. But I remember vividly to this day watching those films, like in William Hurt, Jeff Daniels, Deborah Winger. I remember John Lithgow in World According to Garp, and just what he was doing in that film. I'm like, holy shit, this is real life. This isn't lightsabers, man. This isn't like just this. It wasn't about this big galactic adventure. These were just people with all these fascinating real life problems. And even as a 10-year-old, I'm like, there's something special happening here. What is that? I need to know what that is. And so that kind of introduced me to the actor, and I was like, I want to be involved with that. I want to know what that is. And then subsequently, like over the years, I think in junior high, the other kind of thing that I've only been noticing over the last few years when I look back in hindsight was that I was kind of a, for lack of better terms, in junior high, I was kind of a code switcher. I don't even know if that's a right term for this, but I had this kind of ability to walk into any group and acclimate and kind of become part of that group quickly. Like there was back then, there was absolute distinctions with groups. You know, there was the nerds over here, the D&D guys, the punk rockers over here, the jocks over here. And I was always like, I would enjoy being in any given group, but I always wanted to go explore the other groups too. And so I
Yeah.
would always try to find a way in. And then by doing that, I became this kind of chameleon of sorts. And I had this inane ability to do so. And I really think now, in hindsight, looking back on it, that, and I went through like 5 or 6 high schools because we moved around a lot. And junior high was that kind of initial exploration into finding characters and belonging to different groups, and adjusting and changing who you are and living a life experience that those people are living. And there was something amazing about it, that there was almost this journey of acting already from such an early age. And I think that transition, because then eventually in high school, I did join a couple plays in high school. And so, and then from high school all the way through my 20s and even 30s, you know, maybe once a year or once every couple of years, I would find a local play. You know, no matter what I was doing career wise or college or whatever, I would find a play, or I would find some way to go do a little bit of acting. Even when I moved up to Los Angeles eventually in my 30s and became a screenwriter, I had signed with ICM, and I had like a real strong start to my screenwriting career. But like when things were falling apart, you know, I went and did background work. And you could, like, if you see on my IMDb, it's a few credits there at the very beginning where, because I didn't know any better, I was just doing background to make some money, to make ends meet. But again, I would sit on those sets and watch these actors and fall in love, you know, and and so I never really fully committed until a couple of years ago. And that was kind of a situation where the filmmaking career and being in the industry hadn't necessarily worked the way I wanted it to. So I was going to go to law school, you know, and change the whole thing. You know, I'm 42 years old, and I'm ready to go to law school. I'm ready to change my entire life. And then I talked with my wife and I said, you know, let's let me explore one last thing. I've been touching base with acting since I was a fucking kid. I've always loved it in my heart. Why don't I just try it? Let's go see what we can do. And it worked right away. I mean, I just started booking pretty quickly. It came to me very easily, again because I think of some of those experiences, and it just sort of took off. And you know, I fell in love.
There's something universal about that story, about the moving around, the trying to find your place, trying to. I mean, a lot of teenagers are trying to find out who they are, but you're right. In a Breakfast Club type world, 70s and 80s, people would kind of try to manipulate themselves into that one group. But then there's
Yeah,
those
or it
floaters.
was just survival too, right? I mean, back
Yeah,
then
you find
especially, it's
your
like
clan.
you're just trying to find a group of kids that, you know, you can survive in. But for some crazy reason, I was just one of those exceptions to the rules who I was always looking for the other group. How can I go be a part of that group too? And then go enjoy that group and then go enjoy that group. And it was just, it was interesting. But yeah,
But the more
you're
filmmakers I
right.
talk to, and maybe specifically even actors, they're those ones that they never really gave over to a specific group, but enjoyed the hunt, enjoyed talking to all these different people from different walks of life, and never stopped
That's
meeting
interesting.
those
I wonder if
people
that,
and
I
learning
wonder how
from
much of
them.
that has to do with empathy too. I mean, do you think like a lot of us in this industry, we we're just kind of empathetic creatures. I mean, we see what others are doing and they're going through, and we want to be near that. We want to explore that. We want to see what that is. Maybe there's
I
something
think
to that.
so. I think there's an empathy, and I think there's some sort of a drive that keeps us on the hunt, that keeps that motor going. We're never satisfied to fully acclimate ourselves to any environment. There's something
Ah,
about that.
yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I
just
feel that. I feel like
mhm.
I'm restless sometimes, or I have that wanderlust. Like I was in Europe for a long time, and ever since I came back to the States, I'm trying to find an excuse to get the hell out of here. If nothing else,
Really.
for a weekend or
But now
something.
that's not like a grass is always greener. It's just
No,
you want to stay in a creative space and you don't want to get stagnant kind of a thing.
yeah, 100%. That's exactly what it is.
Huh.
And luckily, a lot of the world does come to America and comes to these big cities, so you do get to rub shoulders with people from all over the world. It's just it
Right.
would be nice to have a holiday or a brief stint somewhere else for a minute to really be um, amongst a whole different culture, language, society for a minute, just like we try to do as actors. But
Sure.
that's just what I'm trying to do, and you escape into TV and film to do that as well, which is really
Yeah,
fun.
I can only assume that's a pretty difficult balance because you've also have to stay grounded, right? I mean, especially if we're in the industry here in Hollywood in particular, you've got to stay focused. You've got to stay grounded. There's no booking out is not really something you should be doing. You've got to be kind of focused, and we have these limited windows where we have those opportunities to go and explore the world or do whatever you want. When we're in the kind of working class like myself, paycheck to paycheck, still working, but we got to be working kind of situation. There's not really much room for that, for that kind of wandering. Though I wish there was.
I wish there was, but you're right.
We
Realistically,
got
there's
to
not a
work,
lot of room
right?
for it. We got to work,
Yeah,
and we got to
right.
balance. And that's the Hollywood Actor Podcast. It's all about learning how to balance, how to be successful, but how to keep that artistic drive going at the same time.
Yeah, huh?
When did you start your training? Because you transitioned quickly. You said from doing background work, and then you said you were thinking about going to law school, but you wanted to make that final, maybe last ditch effort into the film making industry. Did you seek out a conservatory or any individual classes or an acting coach before you dived in?
Well, you know, I had the kind of the luxury of naivete and when it came to training. So I was kind of just a blank canvas. And I mean, I knew a lot of the basics because I had done some directing and I was definitely an actor's director, which, there was all these little signals to me to get into acting that I never understood until much later. But anyway, um, so when I transitioned to acting and said, I really want to give this a try, I started auditing just, I don't know, maybe a couple dozen at least of the biggest acting classes in Los Angeles. I mean, from Stanislavski, Strasberg, Adler, Meisner, Hagen, Chekhov. I mean, I was going around to all the big daddies, I mean, the teachers who take from those programs, from different types of method and the way they work it, and nothing was resonating, interestingly enough. Like I couldn't find a home, and I knew that that was important. I mean, I didn't know much, but I knew that if the class or if the program didn't resonate and I didn't feel comfortable and it didn't make sense, then I needed to keep looking. I at least had that kind of smarts about me. And then I started discovering things like Howard Guskin and William Macy, David Mamet's. Was it what's their school? The Atlantic, um, right? Started kind of discovering a different school of thought, which was more geared to the simplistic process, more of the leaving the methods and the steps and all these kinds of things behind, and to just really work off the script, really work with the reality of the moment. And this eventually led me to a few instructors, one by the name of Jeff Seymour, who teaches the real life acting process, another one, George Gallagher, who teaches from the Howard Guskin process, and a gentleman by the name of Paul Schackman, who also teaches from a more, well, it's more of a amalgam of different process, but a very simplistic reality based process that worked for me. Anyway, so these things resonated with me, and I was able to kind of unshackle myself with all of this stuff that I felt was really compounding the problem when I was walking into the audition room, because I was walking into the audition room and I had all these like crazy ass exercises and breathing exercises and techniques and steps, and what are my 15 steps to booking this audition, and what animal am I, and fucking just what substitution am I gonna, and so all this shit was going on because I didn't know any better, right? Because here's the thing, they all tell you, oh, just throw it away when you go in the audition. Dude, no, I just spent $300 in your fucking class. I'm not throwing this away. I need to hold on to this. I need to book this thing. So I'm in there like figuring all this shit out. And then you walk into the audition room, and I was just a deer in headlights. And I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. I need a moment because I got to go into this character, and I got to, so all this crazy stuff was going on. So what I found was the blessing was finding this really simple, like, Alvarez, slow down, look at the script. What are you doing here? Oh, I'm just asking him if he wants some butter on his mashed potatoes. Then ask it. Would you like some butter on your mashed potatoes? Boom, you're booked. You're done. You're fucking done. I didn't do anything. There's no Stanislavski. There's no Udo Hagen. There's all of that was gone. It was just, you want some butter on your mashed potatoes, buddy? Booked. Co-Star, Network, NBC. You just started your career. So that was kind of the way that things picked off for me. And then I've kind of rolled with that going forward.
Well, I've been talking to other actors, and they also mentioned the real life actor and their experience going from conservatory and plugging into the Hollywood film industry. And they also realized the fact that conservatory and these classes, they really set you up for a career where when you're getting out the gate, you're just trying to make these relationships with casting directors. You're just trying to book an under 5 role where you do say something like that. You do say, pass the salt. Here's the check. Things like that. And you don't need to have all these exercises or warm up techniques, or there's so much that are in our toolbox that we're desperate to use, and
Yeah.
it's not applicable.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I've been trying to figure out a way to explain this to some people, and I had come up with this analogy of the interior designer, and that's somebody who goes and gets this interior design degree, and all they can't wait to do is to get into that house and just create inside the house and make all this beautiful stuff and this furniture and hang stuff here and do this and that. But the problem is that they get to the door after this fancy degree and they can't get inside. And then when they do get inside, they haven't figured out that all you need to do is set down a lamp and walk the fuck out. Like, it's baby steps. You've got to take these small steps first before you can be this big interior designer. So it's not that Stanislavski and all these wonderful process are not beneficial to the actor. Obviously, right? We know countless actors who do beautiful work, authentic work that is based off of years of training from these wonderful legends, and that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, the actor stepping off the bus in Los Angeles has got to first go get his foot in the door, and that starts with, yeah, do you want butter on your potatoes? That is that kind of small thing. I don't know why we're using buttered up potatoes, but but anyway, yeah,
With the
that's
analogy
important.
of being an interior designer for a mansion, you're going to a studio apartment and someone's asking you to organize their shoes. It
Right,
doesn't take,
exactly.
it doesn't
That's
take
exactly it.
all of that training to be able to do that. It takes a little common sense, and that's all that person needed. And then they say, okay, you can do that. And if you do anything else, they go, oh, you don't. you don't know what I need. And so you obviously can't do anything more complicated. And that's not true. It's just that the professional world of acting deals in stages. You have to build those layers of trust, I think. And that's something that's not necessarily taught as you're applying your work within drama school. You're building up to something that throughout the longevity, decades long of your career, the body of work that you're building there, you are going to be then again building for the world and exposing yourself to those levels of casting directors and creatives.
Yeah, it's those schools and the conservatories and these kind of larger programs where you go on for months and years and levels and steps. Um, it's an investment, and I understand that investment, and I think it works for a lot of people. And I could never, I would never want to look down on something like that. I think it benefits a lot of people. But what I see in auditions, and now that I teach a network audition class, is I see too many examples of actors who do walk in overloaded and they just look spent because they've just spent so many years and their wheels are spinning and they can't get the first job. And so it's kind of this deconstructive process where we have to strip away a lot of those preconceived ideas. And it's not even stripping it away. It's like, okay, how can you compartmentalize all that for now? I really, really need you to stop being the actor that walks in this room because you're walking in here with all of this shit as an actor, and I'm sure you're an amazing actor. In fact, you won't get invited to the network audition unless you are an amazing actor. So, but we got to be able to set that aside because I need you to walk in here to um, ask your wife for a divorce quickly. I need you to walk in here and give this guy a speeding ticket. I need you to walk in here and set the check down on the table for this customer. And that's the only thing you need to do. And you need to walk in here with the confidence that you can tell me, hey, have a seat, watch this. You're not coming in here to ask me for a job. You're not coming in here with the 15 steps to booking an audition. You're coming in here to say, hey, you want some butter on your mashed potatoes? And then you get out of there. And so and again, it's just, I think that they have that all of that process has its place. But I run into way too many actors that they're wearing it like a backpack and it's so heavy that you can just, when they finally take it off, like in class, when I see some of these guys who just throw that backpack off and they're like, wow, you mean I don't have to do anything? It's right here. Yeah, man, it's right there. What is he doing? Oh, he's just telling this guy to please step out of the car. Oh, well, okay, I could do that. Yeah, there's a simplicity to it because it's just real life. It is just, we've been in that experience before. We've been with a waiter a million times in our lives. We know intuitively. That's why intuition and instinct is so critical. What's happening right now? Do I feel it? What interests me in the moment? What do I feel like? Let me play. Let me have a good time. Let me just play with this and explore in the moment. And I find that to be far more effective at the beginning than I do and then when you start booking the jobs, of course, throw your backpack back on. If that's what you need to do, you know. Yeah,
Well,
it's
also,
it's it's
like you
interesting.
said, you spent so much money and you spent so much time amassing those tools and throwing them in the backpack that you're like, look, I have them. I want to stand out because I've spent that money, spent that time. I have these resources, and I deserve to stand out. I think there's a lot of actors that are like that because otherwise, if you just do a basic job, you just ask someone for the check or any number of those small co-star lines, then you are in contention, but you are still just up against other hairstyles, other heights, other
Oh, so
energies.
you think just, I mean, psychologically, the actor just doesn't want to feel like that. They want to feel like what they've done should count. Is that
Yes,
what, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of actors that they want to believe that that's how the industry works so badly that talent just uh, weighs so much.
Well,
As opposed
again,
to
I
who they
think,
walk in as.
yeah. Well, you don't. You don't get the invitation unless you got the chops, man. I mean, if you get down to the basics, listen, there's a lot of simple stuff here. It's the controllable assets. What are your controllable? What are the things you can control? That's your headshots. That's your reel. That's your resume, right? That's your portfolio. That's your actors access. That's your LA casting. That's your casting frontier. Those are the things you can control, right? You're not going to get that invitation unless that reel is dynamite, unless you're showing those chops in there. So that's when you have. We'll go back to the backpack just because that's what we were using. We know what that means at this point. Throw your backpack on, and you can use that, man. That's your strength, right? You're giving it because you've done that student film and you've really put in a lot of work to it. You did the research on the characters. You did all this. You're delivering a dynamite performance. So I'm not going to say that. I mean, I can't sit here and tell you that these guys shouldn't feel, I mean, they should feel like their investment should add for something. But that's where it is, right? It's in that controllable asset so that way you can get the invitation to the office. But now when you get that invitation to the office, because now you're in the big leagues, right? You're no longer just dealing with the footage on your reel from some, little short film you and your buddies did. Now that you got the invitation, are you able to do it? Are you able to deliver the most authentic performance, which is just the reality of the situation? And here's the thing: you don't want to walk in with this backpack, because what I'm seeing is this guy who's bringing so much to the plate that it becomes a performance, and the performance isn't moving the story forward. Listen, your job as a co-star isn't isn't to be the star of the show. You're just moving the story forward. You're just the connective tissue so the lead can get from point A to point B. I don't want to see the guy who's, "Hi sir, would you like some butter on your mashed potatoes?" We don't want that guy, man. I mean, come on. And that, but unfortunately, that sounds funny, but that's kind of what I see a lot happening. I see a lot of guys not booking because they bring this intensity and this like depth to, but dude, I'm doing the work. We love to say that as actors. Did you do the work? Did you put in the work? Because if you didn't put in the work, we feel this immense pressure that there's all this work. When sometimes, even when you get to the big leagues after doing all of that work, you need to look at your three lines, take a moment. Oh, okay, I got it. And throw your sides away. Throw them away. That's it. You got it. You got it. And then show up and be real. And
We even learned this
it's
in
such a
conservatory
different
in
thing.
classes that we're not, don't show the work. You don't need to show us what you've done. But there's some level of insecurity and some level of marketing that you see at the lowest levels and all the way up to the highest levels. I mean, we saw Rami Malek on Ellen, and he shows people, how he worked with a movement coach and the little motions that he did, and he reminded people that he was also singing. Yes, it was blended by Freddie Mercury and another singer, but he was also singing. He said, I was singing my heart out in every take. He was, I mean, he was obviously told this by not just a manager, but the film's publicist and probably from the studio on down, to really make sure people knew how much work this performance was so that he could be in contention.
Well, and
There
come on,
is that
there's
degree
also
of
there's got to be
proving your
something to be
work.
said. Yeah, and there's got to be something to be said too of, listen, that the acting training business is a business and it's an industry, and it's been refined and refined to really kind of, I mean, I have to be careful with it, but what I'm saying here, but they're making a lot of money. And there's a reason. It's not just you've got to keep coming back and rising to the next level because you've really got to reach this deep authenticity. It's that this program doesn't survive unless you do. I'm just saying that I think that, having done a lot of audits, I thought it was real curious that, you know, I would walk into a class and there was 15 minutes of the hour was a breathing exercise. I just, I didn't know how was this really benefiting me? There was some of these kind of real esoteric, kind of strange things happening in a lot of these classes that I didn't understand how is that going to help me book the job? How is that going to help me live a real life? That's all I've got to do. There seems to be so much more simplicity involved to me in the process of booking the job, and in the at least the smaller roles, which we need in the beginning, in the big leagues, that I just it makes me wonder. But it just makes me nervous because I don't fully know it yet. I'm still exploring the process. But when I hear stories about that with Rami Malek, it concerns me because it makes me wonder, like, then how many kids see that and think, oh, I'm not doing enough. I got to go do more. I got to keep weighing down my backpack. It's like, well, hold on, maybe you don't. Let's take a breath and let's work off the script. That's what I loved about Howard Guskin's training, and George Gallagher, who trained with him, was just this: look down at the script, grab a couple lines, look up, and let it fly. Whatever comes, comes. Whatever you're feeling at the moment, whatever intuition grabs you, whatever your instinct is, whatever interests you, go for it. And that's what we would do in class. That's why I loved working with him. Is he would just grab me some lines, give me some lines. He'd say, "Hey, look down, grab it, look up, deliver it." And then you would start to just be there. You weren't acting anymore. I was just this dude. And when you see that, and then you see these guys spending hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of dollars on these classes, I have to ask questions. I have to keep asking, why is this happening?
Well, I think there's cycles in the development of the professional actor, right? So you get to concentrate on the artistry before you hit the business. Then when you hit the business, you got to really focus on the business because you've worked on recalling certain things. You've worked on trusting your impulses. You've worked on these different scenes, whether it be Shakespeare or contemporary or on camera technique. And then you don't, when you're actually in the audition room or even on set, you're not necessarily thinking about those exercises that went into the training, but you're now, like you said, letting it fly. But you're at the point where you are able to let it fly because you've done that training. And I think a lot of professional athletes also are developing themselves in a similar way.
That's a good point. I think, yeah, that's valid. That's valid. You put in all that work, and then essentially there's a muscle memory that kicks in, and it's just it's almost its own instinct in itself. All of that work you put in kind of pours out on the set. And I think, like I said in the beginning, my caveat was, whatever works for you, right? I mean, that's what's interesting about all of us. We're still all so different as creative people, as any type of artist. We're all going to be experiencing a different process. And what I believe is to be too much, or too weighed down backpack, is somebody's else. Like, it's their comfortability. It's their way to reach that authenticity when they need it. So I dig it. I'm down with anything, whatever works.
I dig it. I dig it too. I love that actors come from so many different paths, so many different schools and no schools, and they can deliver on their impulses, on their essence in a very engaging way.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, getting back to the business, how have you been finding like the first co-star that you booked, or any relevant co-stars or guest stars that you feel have really cemented your place within the industry?
Well, I had a really fast start with network co-stars. I don't know. I booked like 12 to 14 in the first year and a half. Which is just it, it's pretty rare, and but really exciting. But also, what that does with somebody who doesn't know any better is it sets all these expectations. So, suddenly I'm like, gosh, why isn't everybody doing this? Come on. I mean, I hit all the major networks within a year of starting acting. I mean, come on. And so it was just this real exciting and fast paced process. And then, I started getting stronger agents and representation. And then it became, okay, Alvarez, now we're going to start playing on a different level. And so this year, during pilot season, I've been going out for the guest stars, the reoccurring. I went out for 2 series regulars for pilots, and it's been a lot harder, a lot more difficult. Now, difficult to book the job. My work itself has still been exceptional in the rooms, I think, and I've developed some really strong relationships with these casting directors, so they know that I'm dependable and I'm professional and that I'll come through. But I'm in the rooms now with actors who have very established careers and have proven themselves at this level. So it's interesting. It's like every level you get to, you kind of start back at the bottom. So where I had excelled at the co-star level, now I'm kind of like I had to take a step back, and now I'm kind of building myself up at the guest star level. And I haven't, it hasn't happened yet in the last couple months since pilot season has started, but it's getting better, and things are looking good. There's a couple things that are popping right now that we're trying to figure out that I can't get into, but I'm excited about. And I also just got some representation in Atlanta, so that's also pretty exciting. So I'm going to be opening up to that market here in the next couple weeks. But
Oh,
back to
great.
your
Are you
question.
sending in self tapes over there? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to be selling in self tapes first, and then they said that I will be coming out at some point. So we're gonna, I'm gonna get out there and probably do some meetings with casting directors, and it's kind of exciting. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about getting into that market. But back to your question though, there was a show that really it was really a guest star. It was a Grey's Anatomy is a little bit tricky. I was on Grey's Anatomy, and some of their co-stars are really big co-stars, but um, for one reason or another that I won't get into. There, it's just you get the co-star credit, so it was kind of a larger role. But there was a moment in that co-star when it was one of my first co-stars, like I don't know, 3 or 4 in, that I was there on set, and I remember it was in the waiting room of the hospital, Grey's Anatomy. Very professional, put together set. These people are just rock stars. I love that set. Fantastic show, fantastic cast and crew. And I was getting ready for the scene. And in this particular scene, I drive the scene. I actually am kind of the main part of this scene. I'm a very upset father, and I'm also a malpractice attorney who's about to sue the hospital. So the main leads are coming out and trying to calm me down because I'm about to go off on this fucking place. And but I'm standing there, and it's just before action, and I looked around, and there's like 50 people, right? There's the crew, all these cameras on you, the lights are up, and there's background who are all looking over at you, and all of a sudden it was just all at me, and I had this overwhelming sense of gratitude and just presence and calmness, and I just knew right there and then that this was it for me, that I've arrived, that I'm an actor, and that there's no plan B, there's no looking back, and this means the world to me. I could have cried in that moment. It was just one of those kind of surreal out of body moments, man, where you just realize, wow, this is an incredible feeling, and there was nothing like it. And then action, of course, and hopefully I did okay. And but that was kind of it. That was kind of the big industry moment for me. Yeah, that was the industry moment for me. That was the big one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I mean, that's
Mm.
what the working actor is being pulled along for, those little gems of moments that really don't come often enough.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty great when they happen, and that's what's I was telling my class last night that you know that's all the bonus stuff, man. Between action and cut, and what's that add up to, man? Minutes, maybe hours if we're lucky in a year. That's such a small part of it, and that is the bonus, and that is the cherry on the cake. But we really have to look at it that way, and not make that the work, because I believe that the work is the audition. I believe that that's what we need to be excited about. I think more actors need to stop with I hate auditioning, or I don't look forward to auditioning. Until we change that mentality and we get excited about the audition and can't wait for it, and we're clicking refresh on our email every 5 minutes for that C mail. I mean, until we're doing that kind of shit, like it's not happening, dude, because you're putting it all on the job. You're putting it all on the stuff that you think you love, which is acting, which is over here, which is this kind of thing that is on your periphery that you can't even get to yet. Like why do that? You know, the love and the acting in the moment is can be right there in the audition. The audition, you get to perform. You get to go have fun. You get to have this, 3 minutes where you own that room and just be this guy and do this crazy shit. And it's beautiful and it's wonderful. And I can't wait to get in that room. And like, I no longer mistake my excitement for fear. I used to think I was just scared, but then I realized, whoa, dude, I'm just excited. I can't wait to get in this room and show them what I got. And we need to see more of that.
That just happened to me because I've heard that you have to love that process because most of our business, most of our career is auditioning, is being in waiting rooms.
Right. That's our
You
job,
know,
dude.
like you
Yeah,
said,
it's
the
what we
icing on the
do.
cake is when you actually do book something, and then you're in a trailer, and then they call you out for a couple of minutes, and the end. Here's the paperwork. Get the hell out of here. But yeah, the actual audition. I mean, I've been going on auditions recently that I'm like, oh, I'm so glad there's an audition today. Oh, I'm so glad I get to perform today. This is making my week right now that I get to do this. And even having this podcast, I mean, that was a big part of, I wanted to have something every week that I could look forward to. I wanted to have a platform where I could talk about acting, where I could share with a peer about the struggle, the hustle, the strategy behind what we're doing day in, day out, because it can be fun talking about our successes, but those are so brief. Those little
Right.
moments on CBS or in an indie film at a film festival are so short lived, and they're
And it's the
not
grind,
our
right? The
lives.
grind and the pain and the rejection. I mean, that's what we're faced with daily. It's not the fun of between action and cut. Dude, we're lucky to get that. It's the grind and the rejection. It's the audition. It's the going in and then never hearing anything. That's what we're getting 9 out of 10 times. So that's what we need eh, to be frank, we need to embrace it. We need to embrace it and walk through it and just let it be with us because it's part of what we do. It's what we signed up for. And it's when we just let it just grind away at our soul and it just chips away at us. And then we become bitter and we become angry because, that's why I love that you have a podcast. That's why I love that these things happen because look, we get to talk about it, man. We get to sit here and go, yeah, this is fucking crazy what we're going through, you know?
Yeah, it's like a therapy session.
Right. It really
I
is.
look
It's
forward to it every
cathartic.
week.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for
And so
you.
that's why you have a network auditioning workshop that you host.
Right. It's a network audition class. It's pretty specific. We work really on the co-star and the guest star. I thought, I've been asked to do teaching for a while now, but it never fit right with me. One, I'm not, there's no way I could teach an acting class. I just didn't feel, you've heard my thoughts on it, which could be a little bit contrarian to a lot of actors and teachers. So I was like, what can I do? How can I contribute and give back to actors in my community? And I thought, well, what do I excel at? I excel at the audition, specifically the network audition. I've built some kick-ass relationships with like the top 10 network casting directors in this town right now. I have got a great relationship with them. And how can I bring that to a group of kids and say, hey, this is what they're looking at? So what we're doing in this class is I'll bring out sides from breakdown services, from recent shows, from things that are happening, even ones that I've auditioned for, and I will send those to them, and we will duplicate the casting network session, and they will come in and they will audition. They will go through the grind, but they will be doing it with sides and from the voice of the casting director in office that I'm familiar with. So they get this kind of inside experience that when we sit back and we look at their audition and we start talking about it as a group, they're getting a deeper insight. They're getting something from a perspective of an actor who knows this office. When I give adjustments that I've gotten from that casting director in that office. So I'm not just making up adjustments. I'm giving you something that you can work with. You're like, oh, okay, now I get it. I give general adjustments too. I'm always trying to challenge the actor during the audition, but it's important that I was able to find my own niche. And that was kind of my niche where I could give something special and unique that I don't think many, if any, audition classes in LA provide. And also, I'm not coming from the perspective as an acting coach. That's always a caveat during my classes. Hey guys, this isn't an acting class. I'm going to give you the very nuts and bolts basics of what you need to do. You need to come in here and ask if he wants butter on the mashed potatoes, and let's get on with it. So it's a very kind of, that's why it's called the primal audition. That's the name of my class, because we work on instinct and intuition, and to watch them alleviate themselves of all the process and the techniques and the steps and all this, it's been quite wonderful, and we're seeing a lot of really nice results.
That is wonderful. It
Yeah.
sounds like back to basics is how you really break into the business.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's a very good way to put it, I think.
How long have you been running the workshop?
It's been, well, I had started by doing first a collective where just a bunch of actors would get together and we would kind of figure out how to do it together as a group. I wasn't a teacher at that point. It was more of I just wanted to see if this was going to work for me. And then once I figured out how to do it and the right way to do it after a month or so, month or two, I don't remember exactly. That's when I started the class, which was about a month ago. So a little bit over a month I've been teaching this class, and it's every Tuesday 6 p.m. at Thymele Arts in Hollywood, and you can find us online at primalaudition.com. But we've also got a really great Facebook group, the Primal Audition on Facebook, which what's nice about the group is it's not specific to Los Angeles or our in-person class. What I like to do is I like to write articles and tips and put up videos and stuff just about the network audition process. So anybody across the country can just jump onto our Facebook group and hang out and get some valuable advice on auditioning.
That's how I ran into you. Was on one of the Facebook groups for actors, and that's how I stay in contact with a lot of professional actors across the world. Because a Hollywood actor doesn't have to be based in Hollywood anymore. It's the digital age. We can send in self tapes. We can travel very easily, and productions travel very easily too. What do you do on a weekly basis to really plug in, to ground yourself, and to understand how the industry is evolving?
I'm going to take a different approach to that question because I think for me, what's important for me is to find time away from the industry too. I think that grounds me because you said the word grounded, and there's something about that I immediately thought of my family. And my house where I live is actually in Lake Arrowhead. I own a house there with my wife and one of my sons graduated high school, but one of them's still in high school. And we also have a studio here where I'm at right now doing this podcast. Where I'm on Melrose in Hollywood. So when I'm here, I'm kind of surrounded by the grind, right? But when I really want to get grounded and kind of um, meditate on what I'm doing and what life really is, I like to return to Lake Arrowhead and be around kind of nature and away from the craziness. So that's kind of how I'm able to take a deep breath at least once a week. And then it allows me to be focused when I return to Melrose, when I return to the craziness of Hollywood. And then, a little bit more to your question, then it just becomes, how can I help others? You know, I think I think being kind in this industry and being available for people and just whatever I can do for another actor, there's no better feeling in the world. And it's like if I can just do that all day, I mean, you should. I'm kind of getting. I'm getting this reputation as the guy who will always have coffee with actors. I'm always out having coffee with actors. Like my calendar is like full of coffee dates. I'm always spun on caffeine because I just love going and meeting actors and like just learning about them and talking to them. I was going to try a podcast too because I love this process, man. What you're doing is fantastic, and it's like I wanted to do that. I wanted to do something like that where I could be around actors and talk to them and get inside their brains and but give, let them know like, hey, this is what I'm doing. What are you doing? So that's how I kind of like to deal with the grind every day is the more I give, the more I think that I feel like I'm being productive too, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think we all have those places that we retreat to, or live amongst. And then when there is a project, we send that self tape, or we travel to where we need to be, where the industry happens to be that week, or for that particular audition or recording or live event. Um, yeah, it's a strange world how we're so seemingly disconnected, and yet we can choose how to connect.
Does this podcast does this podcast help you through that process? I mean, does this help you connect to the industry in a sense? Like, does this make you feel grounded when you're doing this kind of process?
You're on to me. That's my final question. Why I ask people that, because I've been trying to find that since I moved to LA, and this is one of the major things I have found, that every week I get to look forward to having an interview with a real working professional actor. I get to pick their brain. I get to see how they're dealing with the industry as it's evolving, and see how they deal with their personal life as that's uh putting pressure on them as well. We all need to have those things that we cherish every week that keep us moving, and to have a full life and be pursuing the industry on so many different fronts now is just, it's something that we all have to be reconciling ourselves with.
Well, and also earlier we were talking about how we go through so much rejection and pain at certain levels in this particular career, that it's nice to have some validation every once in a while. So if I get that through helping others, if you get that through talking to actors and having a place, kind of creating a place where you belong within a community that's, again, such surrounded with so much, I say the word rejection, but it's just this kind of constant grind. It kind of makes things a little bit more feasible, and we can relate to it a little bit better, and we're able to kind of relax and enjoy this space as actors. It's difficult if we don't have anything else. If we're just going to auditions and being told no, 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 then, I mean, fuck, man, then what are we doing? So if yeah, that can't be it. That can't be it. So if there's a way to find another thing within the acting community that you can do and give back, because you're giving back right now. That's what's wonderful about this, is people are listening and they're going, "Oh, look, I'm learning something." They're having aha moments. And I mean, that's giving back, and you're doing something special. And so you're validating yourself as an actor by saying yes when we're being told no so much. And that's kind of special.
And you said yes too. You said yes to being interviewed for this podcast, and
That's right.
you've been
Love
extremely
it.
authentic, and you're an extreme professional, doing very well in the industry for yourself, and to be sharing what you've been learning, and how you've been pursuing your career has been just wonderful. I really appreciate being able to talk with you today, Alveraz.
You got it. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Hollywood Actor Podcast. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening.